So, in this session we are going to continue seeing some more tools on the server side penetration testing attacks that could potentially be made use of. So, we are getting into starting to look at what kind of tools are actually available for cracking the passwords. So, as part of this particular course we are going to see quite a few tools and techniques that are typically used for trying to do a sort of a cracking or brute force attacking a particular targeted server for getting to know what passwords are used. And one of the most popular tools that is commonly used for cracking the passwords is what is called as John the Ripper, right. So, John the Ripper is a very famous tool, and this is a tool that is actually available also as part of Kali Linux. So, it tries to sort of operate in a following manner, and the kind of steps that it actually takes to find out what is the password for the different users on a particular system is very comprehensive, right. So, the more the amount of time that we actually give to the tool, you will find that it is actually that much more successful in determining the password in a brute force method. So, how exactly does this operate? So, it basically tries to crack the password with the standard dictionary words. So, if we actually try to have a password which is exactly as given in any of the standard dictionaries, right, it will first try to find that out, and thereby it will find it very easy to crack the password and then also display it, right. Now, if this is not successful, so if it has actually exploited all the passwords that is actually available as part of the dictionary, and still if it has not been successful in it, it is going to basically use the dictionary word combined with alphanumeric characters appended to it or either prepended to it, right. So, any kind of an alphanumeric character, so a number for example could be either appended to a dictionary word or prepended to a dictionary word, and then it will try to find out if that is something which is going to be which is actually being used as the password for a particular user, right. If that is also not successful, the next step that it will actually try to do is it will randomly pick up two different dictionary words together and combine them to see if it is something which is actually being used as a password, right. And then on the combined word, suppose if this is not successful, on the combined words it actually tries to add up alphanumeric characters either at the beginning or at the end, and even if this is not successful, it is actually going to start randomly inserting special characters mixed inside the entire string, right. So, the special characters could be any kind of a printable character that is available in your normal keyboard, and then if all of these specific combinations fail, it is then going to start doing a brute force method. So, from this list of options you could very clearly see how comprehensively it is trying to attempt to crack the password, and that is basically the reason why one, it actually takes a long time to complete, and number two, it is also the reason why most of these servers and portals basically ask you to keep very secure passwords with very cryptic formats saying that one minimum capital letter and one small letter and one punctuation character, one number, and so on and so forth, right. So, we all have experienced this in different portals where we are forced to actually have password string which is not very easily crackable by these kind of tools. So, that is again we should understand is the reason why because of the presence of these tools, the portals basically force the users to ensure that they actually have very long and very cryptic passwords for it not to be getting easily cracked. So, when we actually try to crack the passwords, what we actually do is we refer to dictionary files that are present and available in a lot of places in the internet, right. So, the moment you actually try to download multiple dictionary files from different sources, what could potentially happen is that there could be duplicates in it. So, one string that is actually present in one dictionary will also be possibly present in, let us say, dictionary number 10. So, you want to actually eliminate all those duplicates so that unnecessarily the tool does not waste the time when it has actually searched for that particular password earlier. So, for this particular purpose we actually run a few commands on the downloaded dictionary files from the internet whenever we download multiple dictionary files from the internet. So, the first command that we actually run is what is called as the tr command. So, the tr command basically stands for, it is a Linux command that actually stands for translate. So, it basically translates all the characters capital A to capital Z into small a to small z. So, a capital B anywhere in any of the strings will actually be getting replaced with a small letter b in that particular word. So, what we actually do here is that, so as an input we basically pass the file that we have actually downloaded from different places, concatenated all of them together into a single file. So, this particular file custom word file is an input that is passed to this command, and this command is going to substitute all capital letters with small letters and then redirect the content into another file with this name called all lowercase file. So, this is basically what this particular Linux command is actually doing. So, the idea here is that by running this command we sort of make sure that we only one word in one single case pattern uniformly. So, if I basically have a let us say a string called readme, one string called readme all in lower case and another string called readme all in uppercase, this is basically going to convert the uppercase readme string into all letters with lower case, right. Now, after having done that there is a possibility that I am going to have duplicates. So, what we do is we then run the command called sort. So, the sort command with the option of -u will basically remove all redundant strings that is actually present in the given input file because that is basically what we want to finally use for the dictionary file as an input into the tool, right. So, you basically do a sort command on that file with -u option to remove all redundancies and then redirect that output into another file called no duplicates or uppercase file. So, this particular file name is now not going to have any duplicate strings, and also there will be no strings with uppercase in it, and it will all be only with lower cases. So, then finally, for getting an idea of how many words are there, you could run the wc-l command to get the number of lines in that file, which will tell us how many strings are present in that entire file which the tool is actually going to make use of for doing the brute force cracking of the password. So, with a very small video demo, let us see how this tool is actually working. So, first we actually try to add a user and for this particular user we try to keep a very small name which is very easily determinable directly from the dictionary, right. So, after giving all the details of the user including the password, and if at all we want to give any specific details, we verify that the information is correct and then ask the Linux to proceed further. Now, if you see the shadow file in which this particular detail will actually be getting created, you find that this particular word user called hacking is created here as the last entry in it, and it also has a huge encrypted string or a crypted string, let us say for that particular username as part of the shadow file. So, what we do then is we basically copy this shadow file into a directory where the John the Ripper tool is basically going to be making use of as its configuration directory, right. So, you have a directory called .john /root, which is basically what it is going to be making use of the configuration directory in which it expects these files to be present, right. So, we are going to copy that there, and then we are now going to run the tool John. So, that is basically how in the command line we run the tool, we run this John the Ripper tool, and then we now specify what is it that we want to really find out here. So, if you really find out what is it that it has actually done, it has tried to find out what kind of message digest algorithm it is being made use of, and then look at it here, it now prints this thing, the username, and I had actually given the password as hacking, right. So, that has also printed the password as hacking, right. So, this is basically the password that I had specified for that user when I had actually created this particular user with the add user command, right. Now, if we actually try to create a new user with a very difficult password, right. So, we are now creating a user called difficult to crack. So, that is the username, and I have actually given it a very long password with alphanumeric numbers, then punctuation symbols and so on, right. So, it takes so much time for me to type even the password string here. So, we can also see here that because of the long string I had actually made some mistake while entering the password verification. So, it has asked us to type the password again, right. So, this time it basically goes ahead and updates the password successfully, and then asking us to enter the optional details. It has now accepted the user creation. So, again we basically go ahead and copy the etc shadow file, because this particular newly created user is going to be actually have added right now should have got added into the shadow file. So, we are basically recopying the shadow file into the John's John the Ripper tools configuration directory, which is /root/.john, right, and then rerunning the same command again. If you see here, it is actually telling again what is the hash algorithm that has been actually made use of, and for every key that I am pressing in the keyboard, it is telling me what are the different combinations that has actually been tried till now, right, and it is finding it very difficult to determine that password right now, because this password which has been formed is a very long string of around 22 characters with alphanumeric characters, with alphabets, with punctuation symbols and all the combinations put together, right. So, because of which now it has actually been aborted by pressing the Ctrl C right now, right. So, this was basically a demonstration to tell you that if you actually try to have a very simple password that is easily available in the dictionary, the tool helps to basically find out the password and crack the password very easily. But the moment as some of the portals today basically force us, you keep a very long string with different kind of permutations and combinations in it, you find the tool, even though it has actually taken so much time to run, it has not been successful in actually finding out the password even after this time, right. So, maybe if I actually give it a few hours of run, it might find out the password, again depending on how cryptically I have set the password, but that is again a very secure mechanism of ensuring that you cannot have your password busted very easily, right. So, if you go to the openwall.net, this is basically the place where the John the Ripper tool is actually available. You also have standard passwords that is actually available here as part of their website, which you could also download. So, if you see for example password.gz, this is actually a compressed file, gzip file that is present, which you can download, do a g-unzip of it, and then use that also as the initial word list file for trying to crack the password on that particular system which you are trying to target right now for cracking the password. So, with this tool hopefully you actually have understood how as a very basic mechanism this particular tool actually works, but I would also like to point out here that there are more sophisticated ways of actually using this tool, and I would very strongly recommend that you try to play around with this and understand the different features that is there, because this tool is something which is very handy for a penetration tester who is actually having penetration testing as a profession, right. So, I would very strongly recommend that this tool is actually practiced as much as possible. Thank you.